No, I did not go to school for 4 years and build a platform to be talked to like this. So I will be
School for 4 years, baby. What is that?
I'm here to have a debate, not listen to your whining. Do you want to have a debate or not?
All right, I'm not going to be talked to like this.
Well,
so.
do you want?
There is nothing more that I love than seeing a feminist rage quit or storming off on a podcast in the morning. Title of today's video, Andrew Wilson triggers feminist brat by explaining her own study. Shout out to the Whatever Podcast. Shout out to Andrew Wilson. This is a fantastic conversation. Again, a live debate where he's breaking down her arguments and it got too much for her. And then she left. Without further ado. Now, this was 2 hours into the conversation. I'll leave a link to the full live stream down below in case you want to check out the whole thing.
And I hope to debunk some of the myths that people think about feminists today and show that it is a very important cause, not just globally, but in the US and in the West. Thank you.
All right, Kylie, thank you very much for your opening statement. Andrew, if you'd like to give yours now.
Yeah, just a second. Let me back up here. One thing I wanted to address right in my opening, I've been going through Kylie's videos, and she knows so much which is not so. This is a big bait and switch. This happens often. I think I pointed this out to the Whatever Podcast many times, especially when it comes to sociology and psychology, how often they are wrong, and here's how they're wrong most often. What they do is they take studies which are recently published, they point to those data sets and say, because this is right now the most current data set we have, it's true, and then operate as though those things are in reality true when they're not. Kinsey says, for instance, on gender quotas, according to, and she cites this, and many feminists cite this.
My name is, are you talking about?
The Kinsey study.
The Kinsey study.
Yeah, the Kinsey study, which you cite.
He's saying Kinsey, he's abbreviating it. He means the McKinsey study. And I'm going to go over that in a quick second. Let's proceed.
You cite, right? And most feminists cite the Kinsey study. Has been debunked for years. I don't know why
Which study is
continue.
this?
Hang on.
Wait,
it's my opening statement.
You'll have a chance to cross-examine him. Just allow him to finish his
let me walk you
statement.
through this. Earlier this week, journalist Christopher Brunette flagged a paper in a March 2024 issue of Econ Journal Watch, a biannual publication edited by George Mason economist Daniel Klein, that publishes articles, links, responses to other economist errors. The paper, written by accounting professor Jeremiah Green of Texas A&M and John R.M. Hand of the University of North Carolina, addressed the first of three McKinsey four-installment series of diversity studies. Green and Hand sought to test the replicability of McKinsey's findings. Guess what they found, guys? Could another set of researchers using the same data come to the same conclusions? Since McKinsey refused to turn over its numbers, Green and Hand had to reverse engineer the firm's 2015, 18, and 20 data sets. The results were startling. Green and Hand couldn't replicate the results of McKinsey's first three studies, which monitored the profitability of the executive demographics of an undisclosed group of S&P 500 firms claiming to have found a positive correlation between diverse leadership and the firm's performance. We do not find a statistical significant positive correlation between McKinsey's measures of the racial ethnic diversity of executive terms of firms as measured in December 2019, Green and Hand reported, and either the likelihood of financial outperformance in 15-19. So to give you a quick summary, the study seems to show its most likely correlation and not causation, meaning companies were already doing very financially well, and they have the luxury to mess around with diversity quotas and initiatives. In addition, the data from the 2024 paper was unable to replicate any of the older McKinsey studies, any of them. That should tell you something. So,
more simply put, McKinsey developed a research study that they put forth back in 2020, which served as a major talking point for a lot of feminists, for a lot of organizations, corporations that were pushing DEI. Within that study, they were correlating that more diverse workplaces equal to better results or better outcomes. When people asked McKinsey for the data, they said, I ain't giving y'all shit.
Say that again.
When McKinsey was asked by other academics for their data, the data that they used to come to these conclusions, McKinsey was like, we ain't gonna share nothing with you. You would think that a study that shifted the landscape, not only the hiring landscape, but the political landscape, You would think that a study that was utilized so frequently, so often in proving a point, right, in shifting not only the political landscape, but then also for organizations, also shifted the landscape of how companies hire and how they are looking at who they are hiring. You would think that they would want to turn over that data just to ensure its accuracy, but no. From what some would say are discriminatory practices, right? Having illegal racial quotas, something as important as that, you would think they'd want to give their data over for it to be double checked. So because they didn't want to give it over, academics reverse engineered their conclusions and then found that they couldn't come up to the same conclusions, thus concluding, at least from their findings, that having a ultra-diverse workforce is not a pro-business justification. Andrew's point is that pro-feminist propagandists, like the lovely young lady over here to the right, go out their way to ignore the follow-up studies in lieu of what's already been documented.
That's a very recent data set, right? Why don't any of the psychologists ever go with the recent data set? Well, the reason they don't go with it is because it doesn't affirm their nonsensical worldviews. That's why they don't go with them ever. You'll find this very common in sociology and in psychology, which suffer from the replication crisis. Somewhere around 60% of their findings cannot be replicated, are not to be trusted. Psychology is the study of the mind. The scientific views of psychology are only done through data collection, but it has to be interpreted. This is a major, major problem. So many feminists will tell you so many studies, and luckily I have all of the ones to refute all of my opponent's studies today. Because what happens is they have a biased worldview and they want the data set to correlate with the worldview rather than wanting to tell you what the actual truth is. The truth is that a bunch of S&P 500 companies who are very rich were already doing really well. And for the purposes of publicity, they decided that they were going to start doing a bunch of DEI hires and ethnic hires and this type of thing. And they decided that the correlation, they made it the correlation causation error. That's it. Yeah. You'll find this over and over again, I'm sure, as we go through this debate, as we go through the numbers, especially when it comes to the abuse of women, especially when it comes to just how useful women are. We talk about domesticated labor. What a joke. You believe that women should be paid some type of domestic wage. However, it's skilled labor in the home, which keeps the home running. It's always going to be paid way more than domestic labor because it's more worthwhile than domestic labor. Simple. So with that, I'll finish my opening statement. I can't wait to dive right into this.
Woo! Let that brother cook, baby. Give him a round of applause. And listen, the way that he set that up goes into one of the major issues with the modern feminists today is that they will cherry pick whatever studies that prove or confirm their own biases instead of reflecting the counter arguments or even what's happening in reality. This is how we can have feminists arguing for literal decades after it's been proven that there's not a pay gap in our society today, but more so a wage gap. They'll continue to push the pay gap without recognizing that by and large, women are not going for more dangerous jobs, more dirty jobs, more CEO positions than men are, and are not working harder than men on average in order to attain those positions. But instead of recognizing that, they'll say that they live in a patriarchy and that they're currently oppressed. It's ridiculous. But I can't wait to watch how she refutes this because she utilizes this study within her content, and Andrew has provided a counter study, one of which she's probably never even heard of.
Okay, so Kylie, it sounded like you maybe had some...
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Some pushback you wanted to give on something Andrew said there.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so
pull it together, baby.
Very briefly referenced the McKinsey study, and McKinsey & Company's Women in the Workplace study, by the way, is what he's referring to. But it's actually, if you go and look it up, it's generally considered accurate and comprehensive in its findings. So I have quite literally no idea what my opponent is talking about, as well as the fact that this is a red herring fallacy of just, oh, this is wrong.
How?
My opponent is wrong for the following reasons.
How's that a red herring?
Because you're not actually acknowledging any of the information that I said.
I refuted the information.
I didn't even hardly talk about that.
I have refutations to your video. I have your video right here. And you start by saying the largest comprehensive study, the Kinsey study.
Which one are you talking about?
I'll play it for you.
Uh-oh.
Give me a second here.
Let's get them receipts, baby.
I think we should stick to what today. And
No,
We're talking about all of this today. So
Okay. Well, I would like you to be less hostile to me, first of all, because I think we should just have a general discussion.
Stop whining. We're doing a debate.
Stop.
So,
Oh, the tools is coming out, baby. They're going to weaponize your masculinity. They're going to say that you were hostile. Oh, man. Here we go. Let's go.
I'm not going to give you the reaction that I know you're looking for.
There we go.
So women are better
I am
leaders
such
than
a
most?
victim.
You
Oh,
agree?
yes. I was looking at that video, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like one of the ones that...
And you cite which study?
Oh, yeah, the one that I'm talking about now. But I didn't reference that in my opening at all. So I think the people in the audience, if they had any sort of common sense following along, they'd be like, what is he talking about? Kylie didn't mention that, which I didn't.
But the thing is like this is a current core part of your worldview and belief, and you make propaganda videos about it, even though it's completely uninformed.
That women are better leaders. I think that is a subjective opinion. None of the statistics and facts that I gave previously are objective opinions. Like the fact that women didn't have the right to vote until 1920. Women couldn't open a bank account in the United States till 1974.
When did men get the right to vote?
Oh, okay, I know this is exactly what you were talking about. This is what you're known for, is like getting people on a technicality that we don't historically know. But
Black
the answer
men.
to that is no. The answer to that goes...
The answer is that's no?
No, the answer to that is the fact that in 1920, everyone was given the right to vote, but there were still barriers to vote for people of color.
When did men get the right to vote?
The right to vote was guaranteed to all people in 1920, according to the 19th Amendment.
Before 1920, were all men allowed to vote?
No.
Okay, great.
They weren't.
And then when men's
because
suffrage
of white
was passed,
supremacy and because our system was not founded equally.
Are you aware that men only got any rights to vote about a decade, roughly, before women?
That is not true. Men have been the founding fathers were all men, so I have no idea what you're talking
What
about.
does that have to do with the right to vote?
The right to vote was historically withheld from men of color. It was
It was also withheld from
Listen to
the
me.
general population.
Do not cut me off. Do not cut me off. I am in the middle of speaking.
I don't care if you're in the middle of speaking. You're in the middle of a debate.
The right to vote.
You don't have your TikTok mute button, sweetheart?
I will not be speaking anymore until you have a conversation with him.
Well, look, if we can, for both people, if we can allow each other to finish, even if you want to jump in, just let the other person finish speaking. If somebody's going on a monologue and they're filibustering, I'll try to
Good job, Brian.
up, but just if they're making a point, just try to let them finish.
No.
She looked like she's drinking pee right there. But the context of that, I believe, is that he's joined TikTok or Twitter conversations and she had the mute button and muted him previously. Can't use that mute button on a podcast, baby. But I find it so interesting that in a conversation about women being stronger leaders, she's beginning to act like a damn baby when confronted with information that she doesn't want to hear. She's starting to unravel.
Just if they're making a point, just try to let them finish.
No, I did not go to school for 4 years and build a platform to be talked to like this. So I will be
School for 4 years, baby. What is that? What?
walking away from the microphone right now, and I would encourage you to get your guest under control. I'm going to take 2 minutes.
went to
So you can ask
school.
him questions if you'd like, and I will be right back.
Because you run the show?
Right.
I just won't be back. And we already
I don't give a shit. What do I care? I'm here to have a debate, not listen to your whining. Do you want to have a debate or not?
All right, I'm not going to be talked to like this.
Well,
so
do you want to just take a little 2-minute breather? You want to take a 2-minute breather?
This is feminism? You're the strong woman? You're the strong woman? Really? Whew, strong woman. I will not be talked to. Like what? What did I even say?
I would.
I will not be talked to like that. Yeah, you will. What are you talking about? It's a debate.
Maybe we can try to stick to.
There's been some really strong feminist women in that chair who have debated with me, just not this one.
Yeah. Although I think maybe for the sake of the ensuring that the debate happens, maybe we can just so we get the debate. So the debate happens. Maybe.
Well, what am I supposed to do? I'm in the middle of a debate. Am I supposed to worry about tone policing and this and that because I have points and refutations which may hurt people's feelings?
Yeah.
Well, I think she overreacted.
For sure.
But I think it is fair to allow.
Then time it.
If she's in the middle of.
Time it. Give us 60 seconds apiece.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
I'll propose that to her.
Just do 60
But
seconds.
I'm fine with keeping it open, but just
This is a debate, ma'am. I don't know what you were expecting. This is an opening statement. You got past opening statements. You was in a cross-examination portion. All right. Interjections are okay. He wasn't calling you out your name, right? He didn't call you the B word. He didn't talk about your mama, right? He wasn't doing ad hominems. It was no low blows. He did the one snap thing where you started talking about, I went to a 4-year degree. I did not develop a platform in order to be How does he talking to you? Huh? Women like that want to be in the boardroom, huh? What are we talking about here? That will cause more disturbance to a working environment than not. That's how you get analysis paralysis. That's how you got everybody. The time wasted from people not wanting to make a decision in a corporate environment because you got to sit around a table and sing Kumbaya and make sure everyone's chakras are good and they feel good before making a decision. How much time is wasted? How many inconceivable choices when you get people like that in the boardroom? You know what happens when you get women like that in the boardroom? Marvel. Let's talk about it. Transitioning the MCU to the she-CU. Huh? Over DEIing everything. Let everything be equal. Oh, my feelings need to be respected. Come on, them feelings ain't got ish to do with results, and your feelings made your rage quit. Now, if you guys want more information into the original topics that they were speaking about, I'll leave a couple links down below. So he kept referring to it as Kinsey. It's McKinsey. Study that Spawn corporate DEI program unravels. All right. This is a commentary piece, but it talks about how McKinsey back in 2015 announced that it had found a link between profits and executive racial and gender diversity. And the research was used by investors, lobbyists, regulators to push for more women and more minority groups on boards and to justify investing in companies that appointed them. It certainly has paid big dividends for peddlers of DEI. Within 5 years, there was a massive shift in how companies hired and conducted their business. The study gave corporations air cover to promote ideologically motivated diversity programs while saying that it was simply good for business. It wasn't. What it was good for was transforming the world of big business into an outpost of academia. In that sense, it worked. But the original pro-business justification has turned out to be a scam. According to the Wall Street Journal, academics have tried to repeat McKinsey's findings and failed, concluding that there is in fact no link between profitability and executive diversity. I would love to see a picture of the team members that created that original McKinsey study just to add more insight into what it is that we're talking about. Nevertheless, ma'am, you definitely overreacted. I would have loved to see your response, your true response, or maybe this is just your true response to receiving different information. Instead, you made this look like this is the first time you've ever been confronted with something different than what you've heard before. You weren't in control of the situation. You began to throw out all of the weaponized man-bad tactics that you did, while realizing that you can't just mute people like you can on TikTok, and it resulted into a walkout. You got to be able to stand firm within your logic, and if the logic is not adding up, you may want to reconsider your stance. And if you're not prepared, or if you've not been challenged to that degree publicly, before getting on a public platform of this size, then moments like this will absolutely expose you. And you're going to end up looking foolish, damaging your own credibility at the end of it. Anyway, shout out to the content, guys. Again, I'll leave a links to it all down in the description box down below. And I think that's all I want to talk about here today. If you guys enjoy the content, leave me your comments down below. Let's have a conversation about it. Last but not least, join my men's self-development community. Link to it down in the description box down below. Link down, beam up, and then I will see you guys soon, very soon. Until next time, YouTube. Peace.
She belongs to the street.
Girl, don't hold my hand. You a mattress actress on the OnlyFans. Get your money, girl, but damn, how is that your only plan? What you gonna do when you get too old to strip and dance? Get up out your echo chamber screaming period and yes. You a low down dirty woman if you try to get knocked up by a high value man.